All right, we'll call to order the meeting. Roll call, starting to my right.
Ryan Condon, Commissioner.
Leanne Ambrosi, Commissioner.
Bruno Maini, Vice Chair.
Westland, Commissioner.
Nicole Lupo, Commissioner.
Rick Schultz, Town Planner. Georgia. Sarah.
Georgia Francois, present. Sarah Stroud, Recording Secretary, here.
Now we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Yep. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the
Flag
Of the United States of America, to the republic, which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
And justice for all.
Is there anybody from the public that would like to discuss anything that's not on our agenda?
Oh, should we seat Nicole first?
See,
Yeah, Nicole's seated for this meeting.
I would seat her before a public hearing, no?
Yeah, it's number.
Okay, we will seat Nicole Lupo. Is there anybody from the public that would like to discuss anything that's not on our agenda for tonight? I hear nobody. We're going to go to public hearing. Item number 4, RAA 2021-02, file number 1016E, Mixed Use Design District and Special Development District.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I do have some new exhibits.
Any new exhibits, Rick?
Okay, we have Exhibit 1, Regulation Amendment, Petition Application. 2, Regional Plan Agency Referral Notice. 3, Adjacent Municipality Notice. 4, Agency Referral Notice. 5, Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments Referral. 6, MetroCog. And that is all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And who's here speaking on behalf?
Good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this is,
Actually, Kev, can you hold on a second? Rick, do I need to read the,
No, this is a continuation.
because it's a continuation?
Yeah.
All right, Kev, go ahead.
Ryan will have to read number 2.
Kev, go ahead.
well, thank you. This will be my first hybrid model of these presentations. So, we certainly appreciate the commission's willingness to let some participants still participate remotely. And looking forward to see how this goes. We're here tonight to talk about the continuation of a proposed regulation amendment, RAA 2021-02. If the commission may recall, we're going to do a little bit of a hybrid presentation here. We're going to start with a PowerPoint, and then we're going to actually go back to the town GIS as we walk through some properties. But as we've talked about before for this application, this is a proposed regulation amendment to create a design district along Route 25. What we've talked about previously is we're trying to prepare this presentation and give this presentation and break it into kind of small, manageable chunks. Tonight, we'll be discussing the location of the proposed overlay design district and talk about what properties would be eligible for to use this design district. At the next meeting, we would talk about the overall density discussion as it may pertain to multifamily, which could potentially be utilized in this development, this design district, affordability components, and then at the meeting on the 20th, we would hope to have a final review of our proposed regulation amendments and hopefully close the hearing. Based on our last meeting, we are looking at some changes to our regulation amendment, which we will provide a formal submission so the commission has it in their packets before the next meeting on the 6th. Just to give a brief preview of that, based on the discussions we've had with the commission to date, we understand that there's a very strong desire to incorporate the additional flexibility that's built into the design districts that are in the town of Newtown. So we're going to slightly modify our language to really capture all of that flexibility from a land use planning standpoint that's built into that South Main Village Design District in Newtown, and incorporate all that flexibility into this district. Additionally, we're looking to change the name to, rather than a mixed use design district, to simply a Route 25 design district. And as we've heard some feedback from some commissioners about some concerns regarding the recently adopted mixed use regulations, which allows for the incorporation of some apartments above commercial districts for parcels in a specific area of Route 25, and the potential for this to kind of extrapolate that into a larger area without that other component really being vetted and brought forth. So what we're actually going to propose, based on some comments that we've received, is we're going to, the current form of the regulation amendment before you allows for mixed use for parcels over 2 acres but less than 15 acres, and then parcels greater than 15 acres could allow for multifamily. In response to some of the concerns, we're actually going to be looking to remove that mixed use component for parcels from 2 to 15 acres, so that essentially we'd be creating a design district that would give the commission flexibility to evaluate underlying uses and things like that, except for multifamily, unless the property is over 15 acres. And then only if a property is over 15 acres and is located within this design district could someone pursue multifamily development. So I think that, we're looking to go in that direction based on feedback that we heard in our previous meetings. So we think that once we kind of go through the properties that would actually be eligible for this design district, we think that'll give the commission a better comfort level to really understand where this could be applied, how it could be applied, and to really minimize the potential impacts regarding some concerns about, either multifamily or additional residential units for those smaller lots. So with that, we'll dive into our presentation for tonight. Again, we're going to talk about the location of this design district and how it could be applied, and what potential properties along Route 25 could really benefit from this planning exercise. So just an aerial of the town of Monroe. Within the regulation, what we've done is we've defined the geographic area that could be eligible for this district, which is essentially from the town line of Trumbull extending north to the bottom end of what's been identified as a possible location for the Stepney Design District, which is kind of a special area that, through conversations with staff, we wanted to carve that out from this design district. And then extending north from that district, which essentially kind of started at the Starbucks property at 525 Main Street, and then continue to the north up to the town line with Newtown. Now, when we look at this area, it could certainly seem a little bit overwhelming, as it could apply to a lot of different properties. But when you look at our criteria that we've created as part of this design district, we're looking to, ensure that only properties that are within 1,500 feet of Route 25 with direct access would be eligible for this design district. And additionally, it has to be at least 2 acres to be eligible for this design district and pursue an SDD. So when you actually look at that, there are much fewer parcels eligible for that actual application. So what we're going to do tonight is kind of basically start on the southern end of Route 25 at the town line with Trumbull, and basically drive north and go through each parcel and just briefly where they are, what their acreages are, if they're currently developed or undeveloped, if they have potential development challenges, and how this development district could potentially be applied to these parcels, to kind of give the commission, I think, a better comfort level on how this tool could be used in the future. Again, as we've discussed previously, if the commission looks at this regulation amendment favorably, essentially anyone who wants to come in with a special development district underneath this regulation, it would be a specific application for a specific piece of property that would be specific to the regulation proposed as part of that SDD. It's treated as a zone change, so the commission has full and complete discretion on how they want to consider any application for that parcel. And it really gives the commission the best and the greatest tools necessary from a land use standpoint to really evaluate a project, see if it really meets the true desired goals of the town and the commission, and look at it on a case-by-case basis. So we really feel that this really is the best and strongest planning tool that the town could consider, and we hope you look at the application favorably. So I'm going to switch over to the town GIS map now, because this is an incredibly powerful tool that we have. So starting at the southern end of the town, the first eligible parcels would be 4 Main Street. This is a property that's actually been before the commission recently. It's also eligible for the mixed use district, which you've determined. So that's likely would be developed under that process. So we wouldn't expect, you know, while this could apply to it, it wouldn't apply from a multifamily standpoint. It would only give the commission the ability to evaluate potential flexibility. Going north, there's 2 parcels that were the former Vichy Vitremont facility. That's 10 and 36 Main Street. These parcels total approximately 14 acres. So if an SDD was brought forth for this development, the commission could consider, you know, setbacks, buffers, parking, things like that, but it would not be eligible for any multifamily or residential components, as it doesn't meet that 15-acre minimum. Additionally, these 2 parcels actually have an environmental land use restriction on them, so they couldn't be developed for multifamily anyways. Across the street, 7 and 15 Main Street are under common ownership. Those 2 parcels total approximately 5.9 acres. These properties could be eligible for an SDD under this district, and it may actually be a good planning tool. The site has pretty extensive topography, extending from Route 25 towards the rear. So the commission may want to consider, or a future developer could pursue an SDD here, which would actually could be a good use given some of the site constraints. To the north of that is 27 Main Street. That's the Shooting Sports Academy. It is over 2 acres in size. It's approximately 2.6 acres. But with topography and site constraints, it could be another eligible property for this SDD. Continuing north, 2 Victoria Drive is approximately 10 acres. This is an undeveloped piece of property. There are wetlands on the property. In addition to the wetlands shown from the town wetlands map, I can say that there's also some pretty considerable wetlands in this area here. So it does have some pretty restrictive site constraints to it. But because of that, it could be another eligible property for the design district. 4 Maple Drive, located just north of 2 Victoria. This is approximately 4-acre piece of property. It also has some site constraints with some wetlands and a little bit unique property shape. That would be something that could be eligible for the SDD, but again, it's less than 15 acres, so not subject to that multifamily component. 75 Main Street across the street, that's the A&G Auto. That's approximately 4 acres. There are some pretty considerable wetlands on the property, which would be a site restriction, but it could be eligible for that design district. 88 Main Street is the Stepney Volunteer Fire Company. So that's a property that's kind of more protected, as it's a municipal use in some respects. That is over 2 acres, so it could be eligible, but you know, I think it's pretty safe in its current land use, and it'd be unlikely to change. Continuing further north, 127 Main Street. This is a piece of property that's approximately 19.94 acres. It is currently under construction for a retail facility, but as this commission knows, we have come before you, and part of this regulation amendment is to potentially pursue a multifamily development on this property. This is one of the only lots that are over 15 acres that would really be eligible for that multifamily component. And it's also one of the only properties in the corridor that has sufficient septic capacity to accommodate a larger multifamily type residential development. So we think this is a great opportunity for a piece of property to be developed in a way utilizing this tool that's kind of outside the bounds of the current zoning regulations, but could really create a really good, vibrant development to be a big contributor to the town and the community for a long time moving forward. Continuing north, there is 19 Old Newtown Road, which is actually here. This is 7 acres. This is actually it's undeveloped, and it's entirely inundated with wetlands and floodplain. So while it's eligible, the likelihood of this property being pursued under this SDD is very minimal if the regulation is approved. Further north from there, 200 Main Street, which is one of the parcels owned on the east side of Route 25. There's 4 parcels through here that are all owned by, all under common ownership. Oh, excuse me. It's currently developed with office uses. There are some wetlands around it, so it's 8.69 acres. So there are some wetlands around it, so it could be something that could be pursued with an SPD in the future. But it is under the 15-acre threshold. Going north from there, 234 Main Street. This is 5.5 acres. This is also one of the parcels in line owned by the same, under the same control, the same property owner. This is developed with Sippin Energy, so the likelihood of a redevelopment is there's a potential for it, and I think the SDD could actually give some flexibility given how that lot's been used in the past. Further north from there, 246 Main Street. This is the Maltose Voracious Brewery. It's pretty much developed as it is, but it would be something that'd be eligible for an SDD in the future. Moving north from that, 254 Main Street. This is actually a 7.5 acre parcel that's undeveloped. It's currently logged as forestry use. I think there may be some storage going on the property, but there is quite a bit of topography as well. This parcel would be eligible for an SDD in the future if the commission would consider it. North from there, 270 Main Street. This is another property that's, I would probably say it's maybe underdeveloped. It has commercial activities on it, the animal hospital, the Republic restaurant, and then there's some pretty steep topography right behind it. That property is 4.5 acres, but it could be eligible for the SDD in the future. And then to the north of that is actually 300 Main Street. This property is actually 24.38 acres. So it could be eligible for the SDD. It could also be eligible for a multifamily application. However, I'll say that the site topography here is very challenging.
Horrible.
The grade along Route 25 is around, there's almost a 200-foot grade change from Route 25 up to the top of this mountain. So I think, again, while it's within that 1,500 feet, to develop this property, you'd have to do some major extensive earthwork just to make an access drive work. And then, developing the top would certainly be something that could be done, and it could be applied under that SDD as it does meet the rest of the criteria. And then some other properties on the street that are on this southern end are actually kind of protected. There's a piece of property at 28 Judd Road, which is owned by the Aquarian Water Company. And also 68 Judd Road is owned by the Aquarian Water Company as well. So there's large tracts of land on the west side of Route 25 in this area, which would meet the criteria, but I kind of consider those protected and unlikely to be developed in the future unless Aquarian decided to sell that, but I wouldn't see that as a very strong likelihood. So those are all the properties to the southern end of Route 25 that would be eligible for this SDD. All the other parcels along the corridor are less than 2 acres, so they wouldn't be eligible unless they were consolidated with other parcels.
Hey, Kev?
Any question? I was going to stop. Any questions? Do you want to talk about any of those lots before I go to the north?
Yeah, go south. Where you said they had the 24 acres, was it 300 Main Street?
Yes.
What's that?
How's that possible? Those are all individual homes up there.
No, it's actually, so there are lots, there are residential lots on Old Newtown Road,
Correct.
but to the west, this is one piece of property. That's 24 acres.
That's not where like that gazebo is?
This is to the north of Republic.
Yeah.
Correct.
North of Republic.
Right. There's homes up there.
Aren't the homes from Knollwood you're talking about?
Yeah. I don't know if that's Knollwood. It might be.
Knollwood turned to us around.
That's Knollwood?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it takes over.
That's where Mrs. Warren lives.
Yeah, that's where Mrs. Warren lives, right?
Right. There's like 6 or 7 homes up there. So how can that be 24?
Oh, that's down more.
That's down.
It is just
That's just one property?
woods. Woods north of it, but yeah, nothing there.
Beautiful. That's the beautiful
There's
part of
Knollwood.
Street. And I will say this is one of the benefits of being remote for these presentations is I actually can pull a lot of this stuff up and we can have much more detailed discussion.
You can stay remote forever, man. Trust me.
So that's this parcel to the north of the Monroe Animal Hospital. This entire tract of land is about 24 and a half acres.
So if you take, okay, so where I'm getting confused is that next street on your right,
It goes behind it.
Yeah,
that next street on your right has homes on it. That's not part of this property.
That's correct. That's to the south.
That's where I got confused.
it's farther down than you think too.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So that's where I got confused. Because I thought those homes were connected to this property.
As you can see here, so to the north, there are some homes here, but in between that, those last set of homes and the animal hospital is a large tract of land.
Right, there's no road going into that currently.
That's correct.
Okay, that's where
South of what you're.
that's where I got messed up. And then the next section up is where all those homes are. On that road that comes up where there's a gazebo and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely
I don't think there's a gazebo, is
There's a gazebo there, brother. It's right after that turn.
where the water is. You can fish right there on the left.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a gazebo like right there. Yeah, so that road right there on your right is what I was talking about. So that's not part of this parcel.
Correct.
That's right.
That's to the north of this.
What road is that right there?
Knollwood.
Okay, I know the name of it. I'm just asking a question.
Why would you ask the name of the road if you know the
Why
name?
did you ask that question?
Would you just shut your mouth? Do my due diligence.
Where's the gazebo, dude?
The gazebo's up there.
He said it was Knollwood.
All right, so that's where our regulation for mixed use ends.
Correct.
Is that where you bike?
Huh?
Knollwood.
Is that where you ride your bike?
I'm too fat to ride a bike there, brother.
Okay.
Keep going, Kev. Sorry.
Keep going. Rules
Yeah,
got
no,
all.
I'd like to, if there's any other questions or comments as I go through, please feel free to interrupt me at any time and we can dive into any individual property and how this could potentially be applied there. So.
I have more questions, but I'll wait until the end.
Okay. So that is the extent of the properties on the southern end that would be eligible for this if the commission viewed this regulation amendment favorably.
That's the one that
And I think a
doesn't
number
have
of them
road
probably
access.
benefit,
The
to some
24 acres
flexibility
doesn't
from
road
a planning
access.
standpoint, as they do have some challenges to it.
So I thought that road. That's right, I messed up. That's where the house is.
So continuing north,
Maybe
there
that was
are the southern end of the northern part of the area that would be eligible for this district essentially starts at, which would start to the north of what through conversations with Rick, we've kind of looked at as a Stepney Village District. So that would be 525 Main Street would be the first property eligible. This is the development that's already developed. It's just over 2 acres. It's where Starbucks is. So, it's, I don't know if it would be applied for under this, but it would be eligible. Across the street from that property, 530 Main Street, that's approximately 20 acres. But that's actually owned by the state of Connecticut. So that'd be more of a protected property that wouldn't likely be utilized for development under this tool. Continuing north, 550 Main Street. This is a piece of property that's currently Nagy Construction. It's just over 2 acres. It's 2.5 acres. It's got some constraints to it. It actually probably could benefit from an SDD, given the setbacks and things like that. So that could actually be a really good planning tool for the future redevelopment of that property. 569 Main Street is a little bit north across the street. This is where it's an office building. It's Wechter. It is 2.7 acres. It's currently developed. There are some site constraints. There's some wetlands in the front, and there's a pond towards the rear. But this would be eligible for an SDD potentially under this regulation. Continuing north, 590 Main Street, the BART Center. This is 4.76 acres. It's currently developed. I'll say it has a lot of deficiencies from a zoning standpoint. So the potential redevelopment or reuse of this site would likely benefit from an SDD because it would give the commission some flexibility to take into consideration a lot of the constraints that are there, rather than trying to pursue a redevelopment under the current regulations. I think that could really benefit from this type of planning tool. 630 Main Street is where, let me turn the wetlands off because it's a little difficult to see. 630 Main Street, this is Fitness 4000 where Sal's Pizza is. It is 5.6 acres. There's actually some area towards the rear which is undeveloped, but there are some wetlands back there as well, so that would create some site constraints, but that would be eligible under this regulation if adopted. To the north, 650 Main Street. This is a piece of property where Mac Daddy's is. It's somewhat connected to the development to the south, but it is under a separate ownership, and that is 2.87 acres. So that would meet the criteria for this. Continuing north, 661 Main Street is 10 acres. This is an undeveloped piece of property, but this is heavily inundated with wetlands and a stream along the entire frontage from Route 25. So the likelihood of this piece ever being developed is very minimal, in my opinion. But that is a 10-acre parcel that could be potentially used. But again, I don't see the likelihood of this development because there really isn't a way to get access over these wetlands or watercourse across the front of the property. Continuing north, 707 Main Street is the Fairfield Auction property on the left-hand side of Route 25. That's 2.4 acres, so that's just north of the Dunkin' Donuts Center. That would be something that could be eligible, but it's fully developed. It's pretty much paved to its limits. So it would be something that could be used in the future, but that is over 2 acres. Continuing north, 742 Main Street, that's the TLC Nursery on the east side of Route 25. That property is 13.4 acres. It's currently being used for agriculture, and there's a very large wetland in pretty much the center of the property, which takes up quite a bit of area. So this is a piece of property that would be eligible. It's under that 15 acres, so it wouldn't necessarily be able to be used for any kind of residential. But it is another piece of property on Route 25 that would meet the criteria. Across the street, 731 Main Street, that's the office complex where OrthoFast is. That's 3.6 acres. This is primarily developed, or it is developed. It's been developed under the current regs. It would be eligible to pursue an SDD, but the likelihood of significant change there, I would say, is low. Continuing north, you have the Bradford Green complex. This property is around 5 acres. However, it is condominiumized, so any redevelopment here would require the collaboration of all the different condominium owners. It is something that could be pursued to modify it through an SDD if the commission looked at this regulation favorably. Across the street from that, 754 Main Street. This is the Stone Farm facility. It was the Miracle Faith Church, and then it was redeveloped recently to accommodate Stone Farm. This is a 22.5-acre parcel, so this is over 15 acres. This could potentially be pursued for multifamily. However, that being said, this site is inundated with wetlands along the front that wraps around a majority of the northern part of the site, and again on the eastern side of the property as well. This is all wetland area, so the likelihood of any major redevelopment here to accommodate that, I think, is very little. Additionally, because the site has been disturbed, there's very limited septic capacity on this property to really accommodate any kind of residential use. But it could certainly pursue an SDD for other commercial uses, as it is over 2 acres. Continuing north, 765 Main Street is across the street, and it's across from Bradford Drive from Bradford Green. This is a medical office complex. It is 3 acres. It is a little bit unique in shape, so potential opportunity here could benefit from an SDD and creative planning tools. But it is pretty much developed as it is, and I think Hartford Healthcare is in there now taking a portion of that space, so I wouldn't envision a lot of redevelopment there. 764 and 770 Main Street. This is Mason's Farm Market, so this is over 2 acres. This could benefit from the pursuit of an SDD for redevelopment. It does meet the criteria for that, but hopefully, that use has been there for quite some time. Will continue to serve the community. Continuing north, 786 Main Street, the Edgerton facility. This property is 22.5 parcels, 21.5 acres. So this would exceed that 15-acre minimum. However, again, there's actually quite a bit of wetlands on the property along the southern end, and then again towards the rear, the portion of the Pequannock runs through here. So it's pretty constrained with other site constraints and some topography. But that is another piece of property that could be eligible for the SDD. Continuing north, 795 Main Street is actually a 21.5-acre piece of property across the street from Edgerton. This is undeveloped. It's actually somehow tied into the corporate drive development, but this is primarily inundated with wetlands, so I don't think there's any real opportunity for this to be developed in any meaningful way. but that is a piece of property along Route 25 that's over 2 acres. Let's see, continuing north. (838) Main Street. This is the Tollgate Plaza that does exceed 2 acres. It's approximately 2.75 acres. So that could be potentially, it could potentially benefit from an SDD, as it does have some site constraints and minimal setbacks and things like that. It would certainly allow flexibility if the owners ever wanted to do anything in the future. 15 Corporate Drive, that's 14.2 acres. That's part of the Corporate Drive industrial subdivision. This is a little bit of a unique shaped lot, so it's somewhat limited in what could be done there. There are wetlands through here as well, but it is under that 15 acres, so that wouldn't be eligible for any kind of residential development. 35 Corporate Drive, that's about 10.35 acres. That's where NBC Sports currently resides, and it's developed with a large industrial building. It's under 10 acres, but it could benefit from an SDD. And I'll say a special development district, if available, when NBC Sports was looking to come to this property, may have actually been a good planning tool for them to get that through the process and give the commission some control over, since they were looking for some additional outdoor storage and things like that for those containers. And then a little bit further north, 40 Corporate Drive. This is a 10.8 acre parcel. It's undeveloped. It has access to Main Street through Corporate Drive here. It's under 15 acres, so it wouldn't be eligible for any kind of residential component, but it is something that could benefit from that SDD planning tool. Across the street, 846 and 856 Main Street. These two parcels are actually under common ownership, so that would combined, that could be a 2 acre piece of property that could benefit from an SDD application. So that is one. That's another corner on the north end of Pepper Street, which could benefit from this planning tool. Continuing north, you have 873 Main Street. This is the self-storage Q-Smart facility. That's 15.7 acres, so that could be eligible for the SDD. It is developed. There are some wetlands towards the rear of the site, so any kind of change in land use, I think, would be unlikely for that specific property. Continuing north, there are a couple of parcels that could be combined and benefit from an SDD. 900 Main Street and 892 Main Street. This is the Stewart Amusements property where they're currently storing the amusement carnival rides. 892 and 900, they total 3 acres combined. So if the owners of these properties were looking to do something from a planning standpoint that didn't fit under the current regulations, they could pursue an SDD, which would probably give some flexibility to them and the commission to consider, any kind of redevelopment opportunities here, which I think could be really beneficial to them, because I know that they, I think their use and the storage of carnival equipment on their property is actually a really big tax benefit to the town of Monroe. So that could be a really interesting planning tool for the commission to adopt for any future land use applications for that property. Across the street from there are a couple properties, 901 and 909 Main Street are under common ownership. These two parcels here, these are both undeveloped. There are some wetlands and a water course which runs through here, so it is somewhat bifurcated from a wetland standpoint. So I think developing these parcels would be challenging. But this is combined. This is an 18-acre parcel. I will say that because of those site constraints, because of those wetlands, I think that I think trying to pursue anything of substance there would be challenging from a residential standpoint, but it is a piece of property that could benefit from the SDD in the future. And then there are only a few more. Across the street from that property there's another 2 parcels, 918 Main Street and 912 Main Street. These combined, they're somewhat under common ownership. Combined, they would be 15.3 acres. However, they do have quite a bit of topography and wetlands. The majority of this parcel to the north is actually inundated with wetlands. So trying to pursue any substantive development here, I think, would be very challenging. But these 2 parcels, again, are under common ownership and could potentially benefit from an SDD in the future. And then just 2 more small pieces. 921 Main Street is M2. It is currently pretty much developed to its extent, so the likelihood of any major change there would be low, but it is something that's eligible. And then 926 Main Street across the street is just over 2 acres. That is a residential lot that is, I would probably say, underdeveloped. So potentially in the future, someone could pursue a special development district there if the commission were to consider this regulation. So, you know, the main purpose of tonight was to kind of walk the commission through where this regulation would actually land from an application standpoint if any future property owners wanted to pursue a special development district under this regulation. I think given that all the previous discussions and what I mentioned at the start of the presentation, I think eliminating the mixed use component for parcels that are less than 15 acres can really help, I hope can really give the commission more comfort that it wouldn't necessarily expand or put any other strain from a mixed use standpoint without really letting that mixed use regulation that was already adopted to kind of flourish. However, as part of our regulation amendment, we are still pursuing and requesting the multifamily for properties over 15 acres. As we presented previously, we've built in a number of constraints and restrictions regarding that application or any applications in the future. We're going to go through those in a lot more detail at the next meeting. And as I mentioned before, we're going to provide some revised text to our regulation amendment to take into consideration the changes that we talked about tonight and the other changes that we're looking to make based on feedback from the commission. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any other questions that the commission may have about where this would land or how it could possibly be used. And if there's any other feedback that commissioners may have regarding the other changes that I discussed earlier, we'd love to hear that as well. Again, our goal is to, we firmly believe that the creation of a design district along Route 25 will really create a new planning tool that can give the commission some additional freeway or leeway and allow for consideration for other planning exercises beyond just the current zoning regulation. I think you've heard from the town of Newtown that it's been a very good tool for them. I think we've heard generally it's been well received to date, but obviously some of these other changes that we talked about, we wanted to make sure that the commission agrees with, and they think they'd be good changes to incorporate into our regulation amendment. And happy to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Solly. Questions? Ryan?
Public hearing part first or no?
Is there anybody from the public? Well, this is not.
That's not a public hearing.
Is it? I thought it was.
It's a public.
Yeah, this is a continuation of the public hearing.
Public hearing, yeah.
So you have commission comments first and then the public.
Was that how we do it? Oh, all right. I thought the public usually.
Feel free to pay attention, sir. Commissioner Condon, any questions?
Yes, Kevin, I'm sorry I didn't start counting in the beginning, but how many total potential multifamily lot sizes were there?
I think there'd be 2.
2 or 3?
Well, so 3, those are the ones that don't have, as you put it, wetlands or just building issues, correct?
So those, and even one of those, I think there'd likely only be one that would be reasonably developed, and that would be, let me pull that up again. I think that would really just be 127 Main Street. I think as you go further south, 300 Main Street, like we talked about before, which is just north of Republic. You know, that's over 15 acres, but I think topographically it'd be very challenging to get, you know, there's over 100-foot grade change from Route 25 at the top of this site. So I think trying to get up there would be challenging. And then, you know, the earthwork associated with it might make a project like that very challenging to pursue.
All right, and then is there anything to prevent somebody from buying up multiple lots to get to that number, even if they're already partially developed?
Nope, there isn't, but we did look at that. You know, I think there's certainly some areas in the Stepney Village District that could be consolidated to create some larger parcels, but those are outside of the geographic area of this design district. You know, we looked at one of the biggest challenges that Monroe has is it's very topographically challenged, and there's also very limited septic capacity throughout the majority of this corridor. And, you know, we've worked on a lot of properties up and down the corridor, and there's very, you know, the only one that I'm aware of that has any substantive septic capacity is 127 Main Street, that property to the south that I mentioned earlier. This happens to have very good sand and could be, you know, could accommodate that type of septic generation. You know, to the south, even if, you know, I mentioned 10 Main Street and 36 Main Street, if they were to combine with another piece, they would be over 15 acres. They're about 14.4. But these properties have a land use restriction on it, so they can't provide residential uses on the property. I think as you get further north up Route 25, you start to have a lot more constraints from a wetland and topographic standpoint. I think that would prevent, you know, any kind of larger size residential development from being feasible on these properties.
Right, and then just to clarify, approving this doesn't necessarily mean that a specific lot would then get approved if somebody's proposing.
That's correct. Adopting this Route 25 design district simply creates the planning tool for the commission to consider for future land use applications. It does not in any way create any kind of clear path forward for any project, and any project that would come before the commission is treated like a zone change. So it's entirely discretionary. You know, if you were to apply for something underneath the regulations as they exist today, and you meet all the criteria, it's very difficult for the commission to deny an application and have that denial retained in appeal. Through this type of planning tool, it's entirely up to the commission's discretion. So if someone were to bring forward a special development district application in the future, and the commission didn't view it favorably and they denied it, there would be, you know, there'd be no chance for that decision to be overturned, because it is a legislative act in that regard.
All right, and then the next meeting, we're going to discuss more into what the multifamily use requirements and maybe limits would be.
Correct. We're going to go through the detailed restrictions we're kind of building into any kind of multifamily application for a site over 15 acres. We're going to talk about density limitations, unit mix, and we're also going to have a detailed discussion on impacts to the school system, and actually talk specifically about the Stepney School District and how that is currently operating and functioning, to really understand what the potential impacts could be for any future special development district application under this regulation.
All right, perfect. I'll hold those till next meeting. Thank you.
Leon?
Kevin, I just have one question. There you go.
Septic capacity, how many of these parcels that are 15 acre or more have a septic capacity? You put a multifamily in there.
The only one that I'm aware of would be 127 Main Street. I'm not sure of the, I'm not aware of the soils under that 300 Main Street, that other parcel, that we talked about. But I know just topographically there's challenges there, but I do know that 127 Main Street, has septic soils that could accommodate a multifamily development.
And with that property, the one you're talking about, would it have to have a special permit from the state for septic?
It could be developed under, yeah, it would have to go through the permitting process with the Department of Public Health.
All right, so it wouldn't need a special permit from the state. Like, I guess if you get over a certain capacity, you have to get a special permit from the state to do it, or does that work? How does it work?
That's correct. Any individual lot or parcel or system that exceeds 7,500 gallons per day,
Yeah.
up to 7,500 gallons per day can be approved by the health department or the Department of Public Health, excuse me. Over 7,500 gallons per day on an individual lot requires a permit from the DEEP.
Okay. And would that be like a special system you put in, like its own system? I know they have these systems out there. Because people are concerned about the septic capacity too on these properties.
Of course, and I think that's one of the biggest kind of self-regulating factors for these. And one of the things that we're going to talk about in detail at the next meeting, one of the restrictions that we put in for the pursuit of a special development district, if someone was pursuing a multifamily, is that they have to provide a fully designed and analyzed septic system and coordination with the appropriate reviewing agencies to show that it actually can accommodate it. Most applications today, a lot of those permits come after the fact, after the commission reviews and maybe even approves a project. We wanted to build that into something that the commission needs to see before they consider a special development district, to make sure that those details have been worked out.
So that would be incorporated in this, then, you're saying?
Yes,
right?
That'd be one of the requirements that we're going to talk about next week.
All right, that's good for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Westland.
Mr. Solly, how did you come up with that 15 acre threshold?
Well,
Still my question.
part of it was in discussions with staff. We wanted to, first it was going to be 2 to 15 acres were eligible for mixed use. And we're now looking to modify that. So I think 15 acres is something that's sizable enough where it can be properly planned and designed to not have, adverse impacts on any of the surrounding areas. And it's a parcel of substantive size so that it can actually accommodate something of from a planning standpoint, from a larger scale. The parcel in question that we're looking at is just under 20 acres, is 19.9 acres. We thought 15 was a good number, especially considering some of the other lots along the corridor and their sizes, and some of the other site constraints that we were aware of.
Okay. If this is adopted, if we went ahead and approved this, I'm still, somewhat concerned that this commission has the full autonomy to decide whether or not, which approval happens where. I'm concerned that other parties might consider prior approvals spot zoning, and potentially opens us up to litigation. It's just a thought, if you're approving things and shooting other things down, it seems like it could open us up to litigation in the future.
Well, I think that's a perfectly valid concern. I just want to point to, I think when George Benton addressed the regulation subcommittee, he pointed to there was a project in Newtown, the Tractor Supply. The Tractor Supply was approved under a special development district. It was actually under the underlying zone of that district was residential, but because of the South Main Village Design District, they could pursue a special development district to develop the Tractor Supply. that actual application was challenged in court, and the town of Newtown won successfully. So I think there's been ample evidence of these types of legislative actions from commissions considering SDDs, special development districts, that really does give you guys the discretion, and it kind of minimizes the potential for, you know, a spot zoning consideration. If without these types of design districts built into regulations, you know, I think you run that risk sometimes for smaller lots and things like that. But this is a planning tool, is something that's been tried and tested throughout the state, and I think it's been beneficial to a lot of surrounding communities.
So this may be challenged a couple of times if, you know, possibly, and if, you know, if it loses, people will just decide after a while that it's not worth the challenge. So I get it. That's all I have.
Commissioner Lupo.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, for the presentation and for going through each property in detail. Two questions. Other than 127 Main Street, I know that has the best septic capabilities. What other properties going up northern 25 do you see could also have septic capabilities to hold high density or multifamily housing?
You know, honestly, none that I'm aware of. I know as you get further north along 25, the soils, their soils change a little bit, and they're much more glacial till. So there's much less accommodate a larger septic generator. So I don't think one, there are very few parcels on the northern end that are over 15 acres or even could be combined to be over 15 acres. I think, you know, up closest to the Newtown town line, there are some parcels that could be combined, but I think the wetlands that run through these corridors really kind of bifurcate any real opportunity for a multifamily development up here.
Okay, so with that being said, then really the only piece of property that would be appropriate for multifamily out of all of this would be the 127 Main Street.
I think, you know, again, I'm not totally familiar with the septic or the soils of 300 Main Street. That's that 24-acre parcel on Route 25. You know, that may or may not have a likelihood, but based on what I'm aware of and what I've seen, I've certainly looked at a lot of properties throughout the corridor. I think 127 Main Street is probably the only one that could have would likely be developed for something of sizable multifamily.
Okay, and that's kind of leads to my next and last question is, on that size piece of property, in your history and your profession, how many families or how many units could you see fitting onto a 15-acre piece of property?
I think well, this is just under 20 acres.
Okay.
And I think if this regulation is approved and we're able to bring in a special development application for that property, I think we'd probably be looking, you know, in a 170 unit count, somewhere in that 100, 175 units. But I think the big picture for that is what we're going to talk about at the next meeting in much more depth, and what that would mean from a unit mix and a school children generation, because I know that's one of the biggest concerns that we want to be focused on, and how the Monroe School District could even accommodate that type of development.
Correct. Thank you, Kevin. My next questions do go along with that, so I'll wait till the next meeting. I'm all set.
Thank you, Nicole. My original question was about the 15 acres. Now, the 2 acre developments that you had, that you were saying, how'd you come up with the 2 acre developments for the businesses?
Well, you know, at the time when we first looked at this, we wanted to, since it was initially a mixed use component to the regulation, we thought, you know, we wanted to use 2 acres as a floor to, you know, prevent, you know, complete overtaking of the commercial corridor. Now that it's evolved, you know, the commission could certainly consider reducing that threshold, but I think from a planning exercise, I think 2 acres is a good minimum, because you know, you need to have something of substance, and there needs to be a reason to apply this tool. I don't think you want everyone bringing in a special development district application on every property. And I think you may get that more, especially with smaller parcels that are a little bit dated and a little bit more constrained, where it may put too much strain on the land and the individual pieces. So, you know, initially the 2 acre minimum was kind of tied to the mixed use. Now that that mixed use component's gone, I still think it's a good threshold to have, just to kind of utilize this as a planning tool on a case by case basis, and really somewhat control it so it doesn't get you know, applied too broadly.
What happens to our regulation for mixed use with now if we adopt this?
Nothing. The regulation for mixed use stays exactly as it is. There's no change to that regulation. This doesn't affect that in any way. So under the current mixed use, I think any property in the B1 or B2 that's within that geographic area can pursue a mixed use. That doesn't change. So it's really from a residential component, this really only affects properties over 15 acres.
So if we had great success with the mixed use regulation that we set forth, and we decided to extend this up 25, there's no effect to anything?
No.
Because right now we end at Knollwood.
Yep. Right. And that regulation exists, and that regulation stays. So anyone who wants to pursue a mixed use development under that reg up to Knollwood can do so. You know,
what if we decide to extend that past Knollwood?
Well, I think that this planning tool gives the commission the best way to control that. And by that I mean, right now we're taking out the mixed use component for parcels less than 15 acres. If the mixed use regulation that the commission's already adopted proves to be as valuable as I think many people think it will be, what the commission could do is actually modify the Route 25 design district regulation to include mixed use for parcels less than 15 acres in size. And then you can really do that planning exercise on a property by property basis. I think that was that was always my reservation about just allowing mixed use in all of the underlying zones, because from a land use standpoint, if you meet all the criteria, it's very difficult for a commission to deny an application. Under the special development district, the commission has complete discretion on whether or not they think it's appropriate for that to be applied on a specific property. So my recommendation from a land use planning standpoint would be, if the mixed use goes really well up to Knollwood, modify, you know, I think the commission would be better served to adopt this regulation amendment and then allow for mixed use to be on those other parcels, through this special development district, because then you really get the control on a piece by piece basis, and you can't necessarily get something forced down your throat because it meets all the other regulations.
Well, that's something for us to consider as well. And why are we staying only on 25? Why are we not talking about 111 or 34, or maybe focusing on upper 111 where it's a little bit more barren up there?
Yeah, I like to take baby steps. And when you're looking at, you know,
that's one big baby.
Well, I think
all of 25.
But I think it's when you look at how, you know, this is a new, to incorporate a design district overlay in the town of Monroe zoning regulations is a new endeavor. And when you look at a lot of the other surrounding communities, Newtown is a great example. They did this in a very pointed and meaningful way when they went through this process in Newtown. They started the South Main Village Design District, and they did the Hawleyville Design District, and they have the Sandy Hook Design District, and then they have the Exit 10 Commercial Design District. So they have a couple different areas, and each area may have its own goals, right? And that's why we didn't include Stepney, because there may be different objectives in the Stepney Village District than what would be applicable through this Route 25 design district. And I think that also goes to Route 111 and Route 34 and the northern end of Route 111, even around 110, right? I think the town of Monroe, and as the commission knows, I'm a resident. I think the town can benefit from some different village districts and design districts in different parts of town, because it lets you kind of create and shape what you want that to be. And I think that's been echoed in the plan of conservation and development, the last iteration, and I think it was reiterated again in the current draft that you guys are finishing up. And I think by breaking it out a little bit, you get to kind of, really mold and design those individual areas, specifically how those areas should be developed. Because I don't think it's all the same. I don't think that we should look at Route 25 and all of 111 or some of these areas as they're the same, because they kind of serve different functions in some ways. And, they've been developed historically differently. So I think trying to do it in manageable chunks is, dip your toe in the water first before you jump right in.
Understood. Rick, do you have anything, bud?
No, but all the commissioners are raising valid concerns and issues.
I agree.
And I think things can be integrated down the road, but we got to look at it comprehensively. As Kevin indicated, he's attacking this systematically. Our next meeting is going to deal with other components, and we got to look at the big picture and see if we can integrate it or keep things separate. As you know, zoning is always evolving. You talk about it in your POCD, which you're going to adopt, which says re-examine your existing regulations. We have the B1, B2 LORs. Do you want those for the next 10 years, 20 years, or do you want to change them with what we're talking about tonight?
I think just from, I think lately, and I could be wrong, but it seems like the regulations do evolve almost from meeting to meeting, right? It wasn't long ago that we adopted a mixed use, which now we're coming into something completely different. So it's 100% true that it does evolve all the time.
They indicated the comfort level's got to be there.
Correct.
This is a major step forward, as all the commissioners know. The POCD has opened your mind because there are so many issues out there that we have to address. Affordable housing, you know that. It's on the forefront. It's at the state level. We got to talk about that. We need to talk about the different housing needs of the community. You addressed it by approving that elderly housing complex. So all of these issues have to be addressed, and you will do it.
One concern I have, I just want to be heard on this, is if, again, I may have said this before, but if a future commission comes in here and they have a majority and they're all in agreement of a very radical change in the direction they want to take Monroe, it's 5 people's decision to completely change the face of the town. I don't think that would apply to this commission, but in the future, it's something to consider.
Well, we discussed that in subcommittee extensively. Like, we feel today we have a great commission. I think from top to bottom, it's, I'm going to ruffle some feathers, but I think it's the best commission in town. I feel we all work great together. I feel we do the best interest of the town, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to be here forever, or Rob or Ryan or Leon. Well, we know Leon's not going to be here forever.
And let's not forget the bills that are being discussed at the state level. You got some radical proposals.
Correct.
Can't lose sight, because all 169 towns determine their fate through the local zoning regulations.
Right. So
there's a lot of things going on at the moment.
Yeah, trying to take that away.
That is true. All right. So Rick, you don't have any more questions?
Yeah, public portion would be next.
I know, you don't have any more questions? Let's hear from the public. Is there anybody in the public that has a question or a statement? I hear none. Mr. Soley, back to you.
No, we appreciate the commission's consideration. I'm excited that we're handling this application in the way that we are, because I think we can have much more pointed discussions and we don't get too long-winded with any of them. I think what we'll have before the next meeting is we're going to have a revised set of regulations before everybody that talks about the other changes that I've discussed. I think we'll end up probably repositioning some of the additional supplemental regulations regarding any multifamily, just to fit it into the regs based on how we're proposing these changes, and obviously to incorporate the other flexibility built into Newtown's design district. And then we'll have a much more detailed discussion regarding density and school children and unit mix at the next meeting, and look forward to continuing the dialogue.
Thank you. And this will be continued on the May 6th meeting. Is that correct?
Yes,
May
that's correct.
6th? Correct.
May 6th.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. Number 5, RAA 2021-04, file number 10183, outdoor dining. Ryan, you're up.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, notice of public hearing to be held April 22nd, 2021. In accordance with CGS 8-7D, a public hearing will be held on Thursday, April 22nd, 2021 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter via hybrid go-to meeting concerning the following: RAA-2021-04, file number 1018E, petition for a regulation text amendment application to existing 6.13 accessory outdoor dining and 7.1.3 minor site plan to require a minor site plan application review, including miscellaneous adjustments as identified in draft text dated 3/10/21, revised 3/17/21, Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission, applicant. Notice was published invoices twice on Wednesday, April 7th, 2021 and Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. Back to you.
And speaking for the applicant is?
And I have exhibits, Mr. Chairman.
Exhibits.
Exhibit 1, regulation amendment petition. 2, Connecticut General Statutes Regional Plan Agency referral. Number 3, agency municipality referral. Number 4, agency referral notice. Number 5, Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments referral. Number 6, MetroCog referral. And that concludes exhibits.
And for the applicant?
It is us. And
Let's go.
Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, I'd like to first start with the history and summary of tonight's text amendments. After the issuance of the governor's executive order and subsequently the selectmen's executive order, local zoning regulations were suspended regarding the regulation of outdoor dining. The suspension allowed local eateries to provide outdoor dining without the restrictive zoning regulations which prohibited the use of parking, sidewalk, and grass areas. With the executive order coming to an end shortly, the Planning and Zoning Commission decided to be proactive in initiating their own text amendments, which will allow staff to process permits for both permanent and temporary outside dining. With the assistance of the Community Development Coordinator, who's in attendance tonight, Bill Holsworth, staff has prepared text amendments which will facilitate staff issuing the permits for outdoor dining instead of requiring the Planning and Zoning Commission to review individual site development plan applications, which are lengthy and cumbersome for our local eateries, who wish to bounce back from this COVID-19 hardship. Now, having said that, I'd like to go into the text amendments. Commission is initiating regulations that affect Article 6 and Article 7. Article 6, propose and intent. We are eliminating wording which makes reference to the protection and enhancement of the rural character of the community, This was deemed inappropriate by the subcommittee and the full commission. Operational use under 6.13.3, which restricted that all food and beverages prepared inside the related principal or accessory restaurant or other food service use. That was determined to be, once again, too excessive by the local eateries. The section 6.13.4 permitted locations. As I indicated, the existing regulations prohibited the use of parking areas, sidewalks, grass areas. We are now taking out all the restrictions and allowing it to take place in areas deemed appropriate by local and state codes. Even though you're delegating this to staff, which is the zoning department, we will be consulting, as we normally would, with the town sanitarian, the fire marshal, and the building official as well. So we took out all of the text that restricted it, including parking areas, sidewalks, walkways, minimum landscape buffer areas, et cetera. Moving down to 6.13.5 maximum area, the regs prohibited no more than 25% of the total gross floor area of the inside dining. Once again, the commission felt that that was excessive. Moving on to, we renumbered 6.13.6 to 6.13.5 in terms of renumbering. But if you go on page 3, you'll see where we change from the commission to staff. Once again, prior to this text amendment, the commission regulated outdoor dining by by a site development plan, which had to come before this commission. Moving on to 6.13.6, which was previously 6.13.7. We modified the outdoor entertainment provision. Sound systems were prohibited. Bill and I met with the owners of Vazi today. They have always had speakers under the canopy on the sidewalk, and it hasn't resulted in any problems. But we are requesting that the commission approve entertainment and that any music or ancillary entertainment activities shall not be conducted which creates a public disturbance. We don't anticipate our eateries creating a nuisance. They haven't done it in the past year. They don't want to do it. They know what works. But we are opening the door for entertainment. Maybe one of those blow up screens for the children at a pizzeria that can show some movies. We haven't had any problems. I hope the commission adopts it as written because they have proven to this commission that it's non-problematic. Lighting, the next paragraph, we just need to say lighting shall be dark sky compliant. It's all spelled out. It's worked in this community, hasn't been a problem. There's just too much verbiage in paragraph D, and it just needs to be eliminated. Moving on to 6.13.7, off-street parking. We upped the 8 seats to 10 seats. And we, once again, the commission will allow staff to determine the shared and joint use parking. Once again, you saw even with McDonald's, we're deferring parking, we're sharing parking more. It has worked with multi-tenant buildings, and we believe that it should not be problematic. For instance, Vazi's will be eliminating 3 parking spaces in the front. You saw the temporary there. It does work for the delivery trucks. All these issues are reviewed by staff, and we do rely on the applicant to provide information to the staff to ensure that nothing becomes problematic. Hours of operation, previous was 8 AM to 10. We want to change it to be in accordance with local and state regulations. We think that, once again, the eateries have shown to this commission that they're not staying up very late. It just does, their business model doesn't work when it gets very late. So most of them do close. They don't go very late. It's family oriented and will continue to be family oriented. But they felt that the 10 o'clock may be restrictive if they need to go an extra hour. But they have shown you that they're willing to not be a problem at all. And then lastly, under the existing minor site plan application, we're excluding special exception permit uses. Once again, all of the whole intent is to delegate these activities to staff. I believe you have a comfort level with staff. We want to make this work. Both Bill and I and others are working with all of the businesses. We have a great supplier of concrete material that can be used for wheel stops and prevention of vehicles entering these patron areas. So we really believe that we have everything covered. And as the commission is aware, I will be reporting all of the minor site plans monthly to this commission. As the applicants are coming in, looking for an adoption tonight so we can get this in effect. But you will be seeing monthly reports, and we'll be sharing with you the directions that we're going. And right now, all of the restaurants are working cooperatively with staff.
It's over now. No, we took that on subcommittee.
So if you have any questions, you can open up to the public.
Leon has a question.
Yeah, Rick, where did we take out the maximum? Did we ever discuss this maximum area?
Oh, yeah, that was 25%.
Yeah, but where did we discuss that we're gonna remove that? Did we ever do that?
Yeah, that was discussed at the staff, at the subcommittee level. It's a standard, Leon,
No, I understand that.
excessive.
I know, I understand. I got that.
Regulations were to restrict the outside dining. Now it's a whole new game.
I got all that. But you can go with an outside dining thing where the guy can double his capacity there.
But it's all based on parking and other requirements, Leon. It can't, essentially, what you have seen in the past year is what you're gonna get. There may be some enlargements, but the model has worked. They know what they need.
So you have this in here with the parking calculations in here? Where's that at?
No, the parkulations are gonna be determined by staff to use shared parking. We have that provision.
But we don't have anything on this regulation, right?
No, it's not spelled out. The standards are not spelled out. We're saying eliminate the 25% because that is too restrictive.
I got all that, but we don't have anything for the parking, right?
No, you are putting your faith in staff in determining the shared parking works.
Hey, Rick,
Doesn't
can
that
I
help?
chime in for a second? Leon, just
Of
to
course.
clarify, the parking requirements for restaurants based on
Who's-
type of restaurant or type
Who's
of
speaking?
service,
Georgia.
Are-
Oh, I can't hear.
Georgia, sorry.
Georgia.
Okay.
Yeah, what were you saying,
So the
Georgia?
parking requirements are actually in a parking table at the end of the zoning regulations. I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but it's based
No,
off.
but Leon's getting
number-
into the shared component, Georgia. It's the next step beyond that.
That won't,
Right.
won't meet.
The restaurants comply currently.
Right, we got that.
It's the shared parking, like we did with Monroe Social. Remember occupants up there, the different tenants?
No, I got that. With the share, I got all that part. I'm just saying that this can turn into be like we could double the seating capacity in the
Can't.
place.
No, we're not,
You can't because that has to come before us anyway if they're gonna
no,
go.
we're not going to allow that, Leon. We're not going to allow that. And that's why I want to tell you
In front of us.
that
They
what
built-
you see now is essentially what you're going to be seeing in the
New. No, they don't.
How are the number of outdoor seats determined?
If they would have to build something to
That is determined
size or something.
by the restaurant owner. And the spatial distancing. What's the spatial distancing?
Basically.
6 feet.
Room they have,
Right.
okay.
But they can't lose sufficient parking.
Right, so Rick, if Buffalo Bills decides to do something outside and they build something, that would have to come before the commission.
Well, that's new, yeah.
So it's
No,
coming.
not for this outdoor thing, no.
Yes, if they build something outdoors, they would have
Oh,
to,
that's for a new use, Bill. I mean, Leon, yes. This is for existing establishments.
Well, this is an existing establishment.
This is existing establishments that are in town occupying space. We know what their parking requirements are because they're all existing. And now you have to feel comfortable with staff allowing the elimination of 3 spaces, 2 spaces, 5 spaces.
No, I got all
That
that.
they're shared.
I just don't want somebody to come in with you for outdoor dining that is going double the capacity.
Absolutely not.
Staff can stop that. They can just simply say no. Right?
And new occupants have to come in.
right, but if they're gonna put something that's gonna be so restrictive, that would have to come before us, no?
Yes.
If they want to double their space, that obviously they would have to build something and that still would have to come before us. If they're doing something on a smaller scale, that could stay in staff, correct?
And that's why staff needs to bring in every application so the commission sees it and your comfort level is there.
We're still.
You can put the brakes on it. You have provisions to put the brakes on it. But if a new restaurant wants to come into town,
That has to come before us.
So that's a total.
you got to go through the process.
And we will see these before they're.
Absolutely.
We won't see these before.
Yes, we will.
We will not.
You meet twice a month. You're going to see it.
So we'll see them before you approve them.
Absolutely.
Well, how does that work?
Because you meet twice a month. I am going to make sure that you see all the applications.
Along with the violation.
Absolutely.
How long does it take for you to approve one of these?
Well, I mean, it takes time, a couple of weeks. We're meeting May 6th. Vazis we're going to show you Vazis on there. They are moving forward.
Yeah, but Vazis is actually building something.
Yeah.
Yes, they
They're just
are.
putting in structures.
He's approving that.
We're not approving something like that?
Vazis is essentially in the same location, 3 spaces that they've eliminated. They want to put up a chimney, gas chimney.
That doesn't come before us.
No, that's handled by staff, but staff is going to show you the details.
I'm telling you.
Your comfort level has to be there. Your comfort level, or you're going to say, staff, we need this to come before the commission.
No, and I understand all that. I'm just saying to you is that's the staff working on, that's not part of this regulation
No,
that you need to bring in front of us. No, it's not part of this.
no, you're delegating to staff.
I'm delegating to the staff, so that doesn't mean that it's gonna come to us or not. It could be another staff that doesn't send it to us or send it to another commission. I'm just saying that, you went and took the 25% right off the board, off of it. So then that means that anybody in the staff could give them 100% outdoor seat.
No, but there's two.
Just saying that could happen, right? So those are just the concerns I have, and I don't have concerns.
That can't happen though, because if you're bringing them to us,
No, the other regulations prevent it from happening. The shared parking's got to be based on adequate parking.
so that's our,
So if Vazis wanted to double it, there wouldn't be enough shared parking,
correct.
bottom line.
Other.
And then on,
And you're going to see, this is going to evolve. You got to, at the next meeting, you're going to see a couple applications that staff has processed.
and then on the utilities and for the sewage disposal and stuff like that, you're gonna ask for those calculations before you approve this, right?
Absolutely.
So they're gonna give you calculations.
Absolutely.
Okay. And then I have one other question on this. On the music that you said, if it,
You restricted it because you never anticipated outside dining.
what happens if they do?
Oh, a complaint, after town hall hours, complaints would go to the police department.
Right?
They would delegate it to the zoning department.
So how many complaints do you have that you could tell them that they can't have entertainment anymore.
How many have we received?
How many would you receive before you could say, listen, you need?
Oh, no, we would deal with it immediately. We would
Take that away.
He's not asking that. He's saying how many disturbances do you get before we take it completely away from that
Well,
facility?
you're talking, that's a judgment call by the commission. I'm not anticipating it because we talk to each and every applicant about their needs and what they're gonna, possibly.
You shouldn't have anything in here about complaints, about certain number of complaints, and then you would have to come in front of the commission. We wouldn't put anything like that in there?
No, we want to deal with it internally.
I understand that, but I'm saying to you, but if you couldn't deal with it internally, would you bring it to the commission?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, but that would come on your,
In there on a part of this regulation?
that would come on his report.
No, I
Doesn't have to be in
understand.
the regulation.
Right, so if during his report, we're getting, Leon's Restaurant has got 2,
No, I have all.
then we can turn around and we could say, hey, listen, what are we doing here? What's going on?
But would you put that in this, would you put this in this thing here saying that if there was complaints that you would have to come in front of this commission?
Oh, absolutely.
So I would want that written in here somewhere.
And we'll put it,
Okay,
on the minor site plan application.
okay. All right, that's all I need. Thanks.
Rhino?
Yeah, just on page 3, section D, I'm reading it as lighting. Lighting shall be dark sky compliant horizontally and or across property lines.
No, it's going to be dark sky compliant, period.
So the bottom, so there's some stuff,
Eliminated, yeah.
so it's not strike through though. So I just want to make sure that gets,
That should have been scratched out.
okay, all right. And then,
By the way, as you know, all businesses in the community are very familiar with dark sky compliant. It hasn't been an issue.
yeah, no, I was just worried about the
Yeah, everything else is eliminated. That way,
and then, yeah, I mean, I think the whole year of us being apart with a pandemic has shown that, this kind of brings us together in a nice way, the outdoor dining. I know last summer, driving around town, seeing people out with their families eating was awesome. I mean, it was amazing, really. It brings us together, and this is something we need to move forward on, without a doubt.
and staff wants to assure public safety is number one.
Yeah.
It has to be. When Bill and I were talking with Vazis today, they're doing a beautiful job with masonry, really aesthetically is beautiful. And they agreed to add some more bollards and masonry in areas where a car could roll into it.
Rob, any questions?
I was just reading through this section here, and I think the safety component's been adequately addressed. That's, like you said, the most important part of this whole
It really is.
change,
Really
so I'm all for it.
Nicole?
Ryan took my one question about the strikeout. So will prohibited locations also be totally striked out on page 2 since
Yes.
there are none? Okay. And I agree with you, Leon. I put my faith in the current staff, but I think going forward, again, just like we don't know where this commission's going to go in the future, we just want to make sure there's something in writing that we will see things, or the future commissioner will see things. As staff changes, we may not always have the same relationship. We just want to make sure that we are.
And I think the commission should revisit this in 6 months. You have to.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Fine by me. I don't have any questions. I would like Bill Holsworth to talk about this also, because he's definitely been a part of it. And I want to get his feelings, so the commission haven't heard him speak about it. I'd like to have him, if he would like to come up and say a couple words.
Thank you, Commissioner Mayne. So the outdoor dining piece, we started pursuing that in order to help the restaurants that are recovering from the COVID-19 epidemic. A lot of the restaurants have not been able to reopen early in the process. They didn't reopen back until May of last year. And then when they did reopen, it was at a reduced capacity. Even when they increased the capacity, the residents weren't necessarily willing to go out and sit inside at these restaurants, but they felt much more comfortable sitting outside. Recognizing that, we took a look at the regulations to see how we could make that outdoor dining more permanent. I understand where the concerns are for the commission, but our concerns were really on the safety of the diners, the people that are eating outside, making sure that the outdoor dining experience is a safe environment for those individuals, making sure that there are no accidents waiting to happen. Listening to some of the stuff that went on for tonight with where your concerns were, the complaints going to the commission, I'd like that to read more of unresolved complaints. I'd like staff to have the first opportunity to go out and visit with the restaurants and to be a partner to those restaurants and help them understand where the complaints are coming from, why the complaints are coming in, and how they can possibly address them on their own before we take them to the commission.
On that behalf, I think that's just speaking for myself, but I think we are in favor of staff making the first step, but we also want to make sure that we know that there was a complaint made and this is the resolution that happened, just so we can notate it going forward if there's multiple complaints. We don't want complaint number 5 to come before us. We would like to know that complaint 1 was made, it was taken care of, this is how it was resolved, this is what was going on, and done. I think that's more of what.
And what I'm saying is, some people, like, they ignore the staff until they have to come in front of this commission. And then when they have to come in front of this commission, they can't ignore this commission because the commission will just take that use away from them, from everybody. And so that's why I'm saying that, if it gets out of control, we need to know about it. And it's like, I don't mind, but somebody could really abuse it. Most people probably wouldn't abuse it, but you can get somebody that will abuse it and make it bad for everybody else. And that's what I don't want to happen. Because if we get one person that starts complaining and they have loud music and then all these people are complaining in town, then it takes it away from everybody. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I don't want to get into.
Right, but if they can handle it the first one and then let us know.
That's what I'm saying, but
at least let us know
that if
we've had those conversations with the restaurants as we're moving forward with providing them with the minor site plans, talking through what their plans are for their outdoor dining experience for the coming year. We have talked about the outdoor entertainment. There are some restaurants that do movie night. It's not loud, it's not obtrusive. We haven't received any complaints from any neighbors about it. We would like to be able to continue to allow that restaurant to do outdoor movie night.
And like I said, Bill, what I'm saying is I don't have an issue with it. It's the only time I have an issue with it if it gets out of control. And if it gets, where it's out of control,
but we're going to hear about
decision on that.
We're going to hear about it. We're just giving them the first opportunity to take care of it, and then we're going to hear about it. So, anything else, Bill?
I don't have anything else. If you have any specific questions.
I do. First, I want to just state I applaud, your efforts and Rick Schultz's efforts on this detail. This has come a long way, and it's going to definitely be a help to the community. And something I'd like to add as a reminder possibly is to help guide these eateries to the proper safety building products, when they first come in. They may not be sure. I've actually had a restaurant call me up and say, what should I do? What do I need to do as far as barriers? We have a facilitator in town here, Precast, which can help out in a big way, and it can also keep the business local in that regard. And also encourage them, here it is, we're going into May. The last thing we're thinking about is snow removal and cleanup. Advise that they take that into consideration because that may pose a problem for the shopping center owner or themselves.
Absolutely.
As soon as January rolls around, like, God, we have a whole different idea of how to do cleanup at this point. So I would just remind them of those two things and just try to keep the business local.
That's a great point too, because you're going to lose parking spaces in the winter. But then again, you're not eating outside in the winter. Depending on what kind, if they enclose it of some sort and put a heater,
Yeah, that's all evolving, by the way. They're all thinking about what the new hybrids are going to be.
Let's be proactive on it though, so that they're
right,
not left.
But the snow removal is going to cost spaces. It always does. You don't.
And it makes it more difficult,
But you lose spaces because you got to put the snow somewhere.
Right, and you're going to have this notch now in the parking lot.
Correct.
So, Rick, is there going to be any structures on these properties?
Yeah, we have Vazis wants to put up a large chimney.
I got that part, large chimney, but how about like a roof or anything over top of these things?
That would have to come before us, something like that.
So far, it's just, fabric kind of roofing,
Nothing permanent.
nothing permanent.
But if somebody were to put a permanent roof on it, that would
That's a structure, then we, yeah.
have to come before us.
Well, a more permanent structure, that comes before the commission. That's site plan, yeah.
Yeah, there's.
But an awning or something, an electric awning, that doesn't need to.
Correct. Okay. Anything else, Rob?
That's it.
Nicole?
Thanks again.
Good.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. We would like to hear from the public. Is there anybody that would like to question, comment, in favor? Please speak now. Anybody that would like to talk against this, please speak now. I hear nobody. Rick, what would you like to do?
Mr. Maini, it's Georgia again. Can I just clarify two things for you guys?
Absolutely, Georgia.
Okay, I don't know if you can see my screen, but I did pull up quickly. There are actual regulations for the minor site plan application. So part of what you're looking at in front of you tonight would be to include obviously this as a minor site plan application. But it does call out specifically septic capacity or sewer capacity, different parking regulations that have to be kept in mind as far as any sort of an approval through the minor site plan process. So there are some safeguards there. And then
Those are the safeguards,
right, the parking that I was mentioning earlier, it's actually based on square footage inside and outdoor. It does say specifically outdoor seating areas. So to Leon's point, I don't know how many tables someone could smush in given the 6-foot rule, but it would be for the overall square footage of that potential space. And the regulations are based off of normal times, not COVID times. So the parking that would be required would be the same as if they did a building expansion as it would be for, doing an outdoor seating area. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys are aware that that's how that's set up. It's not by seating at the table, it's by the actual gross floor area.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thanks, Georgia.
Rick, anything else?
No, once again, this is the new beginning of a new phase for the restaurants in the community and the whole state and the nation. And we're going to try our hardest to make sure that there are no problems. And as I indicated, staff will be reporting on this issue monthly.
Would you like to close?
Yes.
Agenda number 5, closed. There you go. No, we don't need to make a motion to close it.
No, not to close. We'll deliberate today.
I mean, what is going on here?
He's just questioning your authority.
Number 6, pending meeting minutes from April 8th.
The motion in the second, Mr. Chairman.
I don't even have them.
I don't have them.
Nicole, you have them?
I don't have them.
Rob?
I never got them.
Nobody has them?
Okay,
That'll get
We're
moved
going to
to,
put that to the next meeting.
okay, table.
Table that.
we'll table that to the May 6th meeting. Number 7, bond release request. We have a report here, and this is for Trailside subdivision maintenance bond. The bond report came from Scott Schatzine, I'm assuming. There it is. The original bond was 835,000. Current bond is 167. His inspection has been completed. The worksheet has been completed as well. As built, yes. All required work has been completed. The town engineer wants to release the bond of 167 to 0. And we just need a motion.
To make a motion to release the bond of 167,000 to Bird's Eye Estates.
Need a second?
Second.
A second. Is there any discussion on this? No discussion? Nicole, discussion? No discussion. Call the roll. Ryan Condon?
Condon, yes.
Leon?
Rosie, yes.
Mayini, yes.
Westland, yes.
Lumo, yes.
Bond will be released. Number 8. Pending applications, deliberations, and determinations. SEP 2020-01, file number 1626A, 10 Victoria Drive.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, Commission directed staff to prepare a favorable resolution, which you have before you. And if you want me to read it, I'll proceed.
Rick?
We don't have it.
We don't have that either. You have it, Rob?
I thought
Nicole?
I printed it out. I don't think I printed it out.
Victoria Drive.
Victoria Drive?
I have the special exception permit.
Oh, I got one. I printed mine out.
Yeah, I have it.
Yeah.
I printed
Sorry,
mine
go ahead,
out.
Rick, I'm sorry.
You don't have one.
I don't have it. It's okay.
Rob, you have
Can I read
it.
this one?
Okay,
Rick's gonna go through it.
Is it file, which one is it, Bruno?
It is file number 1626A.
Yeah, I printed it out today.
Not mine. That's okay. Rick, sorry, go ahead.
okay, this is special exception permit approval for a commercial vehicle facility. Planning and Zoning Commission is considering an SCP application seeking approval for a special exception permit for said commercial vehicle facility. Is subject properties on 5.4 acres located in the northerly side of Victoria Drive in an industrial I3 and is currently a vacant parcel. Commission's noted the following: site is not located within a public watershed area. Site is located within 500 feet of the town boundary of Trumbull. Property is located within a mapped floodplain. Application received approval from the Inland Wetlands Commission for regulated activities associated with this application. Site is not subject to a conservation easement. Site access is existing and provided via Victoria Drive, a private road, which access roadway is not proposed to be altered.
No, Dom.
Proposed activity will be a major traffic generator for which a traffic investigation report 173-10901 was approved on December 22nd, 2015, authorizing the issuance of a certificate. Site is served by public water and natural gas connections and an on-site individual subsurface septic disposal system. Commission consider the proposed application at a duly noticed public hearing closed on March 18th, 2021. Notice of the public hearing was filed in the town clerk's office and published in the Voices. Public hearing notice was sent to abutting property owners within 100 feet, and the green cards were received. The commission, in accordance with section 8-22, the zoning regs, hereby finds the following in respect to the special exception permit general standards. Proposal seeks approval to permit the parking of commercial vehicles at a logistics parking facility requiring special exception permit in I3 district. Off-street parking, loading, site utilities, lighting, drainage, and landscaping improvements are involved and provide compliance to applicable zoning standards. B, the proposed actions consistent with the plan of conservation and development. Keeping in mind that's the 2010, we're updating ours to 2021. No signage is proposed at this time. Proposed off-street parking and loading will be provided in compliance with applicable zoning standards. Further resolve, the commission at its meeting of October 22nd, and we need a motion to approve following deliberations conducted on March 18th, 2021. Voted in favor with the following conditions: submission of an annual personal property declaration to the town of Monroe assessor no later than November 1st of each reporting year. Once again, this is the appropriate language that the assessor has provided to the commission. 2, the parking of the primary vehicle inventory in the premises shall be restricted to vans not exceeding a gross vehicle weight, that's the truck and the load within, of 13,000 pounds, and passenger vehicles operated by the van drivers. The drivers come get their vans, and then they go on their route. The parking of tractor trailers shall be prohibited unless temporary in nature and shall only be allowed upon authorization by the zoning enforcement officer. As stated at the public hearing, occasionally, I repeat, occasionally, a trailer may have to come in there. We want to know about it. We have to authorize it. This is not going to be a common occurrence, nor does the commission want to see it there. For the installation of appropriate traffic signage for multipurpose trail intersecting Victoria Drive will be provided. We have that trail there. It's got to cross Victoria. The commission wants the appropriate signage. We have signage like that throughout the community where the trails do intersect a private road and a town. The first page, no one. Hours of operation shall be restricted to Sunday through Saturday from 4 a.m. to 10 p.m. with occasional later hours during holidays and special circumstances. Be it further resolved, this approval is specific to the detailed herein and the associated site development plans. Be it further resolved, the commission hereby authorizes the publishing of the notice of decision consistent with the state statutes 8-CB. And be further resolved, this application to be subject to the following modifications and requirements, and that includes the procurement of involving agency permits, involvement and approvals. 3, required recording of approval. 4, no zoning permit or building permit until all the conditions have been met. So those are all the conditions. And now we need a motion and a second and then a roll call, Mr. Chairman.
I'll make a motion.
We make a motion, then we do discuss.
Whoa.
Wait, we motion first, then we discuss, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Can I have a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve SCP-2021-01, file number 1626A, 10 Victoria Drive.
Can I get a second, please?
Second, Condon.
Any discussion?
Rick, where did you come up with the 13,000 pounds?
Oh, that was checked with the applicant, and zoning officer Joe Chapman contacted state officials to confirm that that is in fact the weight limits of these vans that are working all over the state for Amazon.
That's a gross vehicle?
That's the gross vehicle weight. That is correct.
On the vans. Okay, then what were you saying about with the temporary of the tractor trailers park?
The commission does not want to see tractor trailers there. That's not the intent and purpose.
What's temporary in nature?
The applicant indicated that occasionally,
I got that.
during special occasions like the holidays, where large shipments need to come in, and because this facility is big enough to accommodate them, that they will park there, subject to the zoning enforcement officer finding out all the specifics. Once again, this will be relayed to the commission, because this is something that we have to watch very carefully. Just like with the backup, they indicated no backup noises, because that can resonate to the neighborhood.
Not all that, but I'm saying that so the parking of tractor trailers, we're gonna put like a limit on that, like 2 days, 3 days, or?
Well, once again, they indicated it's very rarely done, and the ZEO will establish that, and this will be conveyed to the commission. It's temporary.
If it was there,
Temporary means under a week.
right, but if it was there, say for a week, that would be a violation?
The zoning enforcement officer has indicated, and we've discussed it with the applicant, that we are not going to tolerate anything over a week.
Okay, so if it does happen over a week, it's a violation.
That's why it's important to state on the record here.
If that's not part of this approval, right?
It's a violation?
No, it's just a,
But we're stating on the record, that was what was conveyed to staff.
You're gonna state on the record that, okay.
Anything over 7 days would be a violation.
Anybody else? Everybody's good? Call the roll. Ryan?
Condon, yes.
Leon?
Rosie, yes.
Mayini, yes?
Westland, yes.
Lupo, yes.
Did we need to note that Nicole's taking Mike's spot because she was here. You were here for all these.
Yes.
Yeah, we seated her in the
I
beginning.
know we seated her, but she needed to
Prior
be,
meeting.
she also,
And Nicole, just state for the record that you feel qualified
I feel qualified to,
to act on this application insofar as you participate, you listen to the record.
she's got more notes than we all do.
That's correct.
That's a 5-0 passer. Are we gonna discuss, do we want to discuss the, that was for my boy, Bill.
It was good. You did a good
That was the
job.
Bill Porter stare. I learned that from him. Are we gonna discuss the text amendment?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah, I don't see why not, right? We
closed it.
closed it and it's written here in front of us. We can go ahead and make a motion to approve, right?
Text amendment for the outdoor.
Outdoor dining. Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the drafted zoning text amendment for accessory outdoor dining regulations and minor site plan applications dated March 10th, 2021, revised March 17th, 2020.
I'll second that motion.
Well done. We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Anybody?
In my piece, I'm very much for it.
Anybody? Anybody? We're good?
I have a question. What would be,
Now we are discussing, hold on.
what would be the issue with 100% outdoor dining?
Because if you don't have the parking,
Mhm.
and what you do is increase the capacity of the restaurant, and then you have to worry about the septic, and so that, all that stuff has to be taken into consideration.
Yeah, but you
For
could
some
still,
reason, if it's not, it's like, we have certain issues in certain properties right now, where septic capacity is not enough.
okay, but at 100% capacity would assume it's the same.
Well, no, you could double
It's
it.
elite, right?
So say if there was 50, say if you had a place that has 50 seats,
Mm-hmm.
you could, if you had. no
Then it would go to
regulation on it,
100.
We have the other okay.
You could bring it up to.
Right, you have the other checks and balances.
Yeah,
Make
we
sure,
have the parking, we have the septic.
you're gonna see, when I give a report, I'm gonna show you detailed site plans.
All right, I was just curious, I'm just thinking there's a restaurant in Connecticut that is it's a outdoor pit and they cook and it's all outdoor
Right.
seating. It's awesome.
Right.
I'm just saying like that would be something that I wouldn't be completely opposed to.
Yeah, but the restaurants in Monroe
Yeah,
were designed not for outside dining.
yeah, gotcha.
So you are limited because most of them are in a shopping center that has shared parking.
Gotcha. Okay, yep.
Everybody's good?
Do a roll call on that?
Huh?
No.
You need a roll call on that.
I'll hear.
Well, we got a motion, we got a second.
Second, yeah.
Discussion is now, everybody's good with discussion? Discussion's over. Let's call the roll. Ryan?
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
Mayini, yes.
Westland, yes.
Lupo, yes.
It's a 5-0. Put it in the books. Number 9.
Thanks, Bill.
Number 9, regulation review work session. Are we setting up a subcommittee?
No, but I need authorization of the commission. This is phase 2 of text amendments. Phase 1 was the outside dining. Now we have the outdoor storage, which we talked in subcommittee. Subcommittee is here tonight to say, let's move forward. I provided a copy to all the commissioners, and staff is recommending a public hearing of May 20th.
Or what?
Outdoor storage.
Storage.
Okay.
You're
Yeah,
in the- you're in the
something up on that
subcommittee.
yet, Rick, or no?
Yeah, that was all sent out,
Sent out to who?
all the commissioners.
I didn't get it.
For today, Rick?
When did you
Yeah.
send it?
Georgia?
Rick, I think it went out this morning, but I'll double check tomorrow.
It did go out, though. And we'll make sure.
May 20th, we got a month.
Fine.
That's it, we're good? Number 10, legal review. Everybody have the green letter? Has everybody read? Has everybody read it?
And we have Attorney Chris Smith, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there he is. Attorney Smith.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Mr. Schultz, and Madam Clerk. For the record, my name is Chris Smith. I'm a land use attorney with the law firm of Alter and Pearson, and I appear before you this evening on behalf of the owner, Cottage Street LLC, concerning this subdivision approval. And I know that you have a letter from your town attorney, Lito, that stated yesterday. And this is fairly straightforward. We're just appearing before the commission requesting confirmation as to the expiration date of the special exception and subdivision timeline for the two approvals for this 14 lot subdivision. And specifically the zoning, this commission approved the special exception and a subdivision for the subdivision approvals for the 14 lot subdivision back in September 13th of 2007. There was a related wetlands permit application that went to appeal that was resolved with the issuance of a wetlands permit approximately 11 months later on October 21, 2008. Since that time period, this commission has been kind enough to grant extensions as provided by the statutes for the 14-year time period, and wetlands has as well. However, during this time period, there's an additional 11 months since the zoning approvals did not become effective until the wetlands permit. The 14-year time period for the zoning approvals runs contemporaneously with the wetlands, whereby the zoning approvals expire at the same time as the wetlands, which would be October 21 of next year, 2022. And we're just here this evening to confirm that. I did submit a memo to the commission with the relevant case law and timeline. I know that was reviewed by your town attorney, and he issued an opinion letter yesterday, dated yesterday, and he agrees with our analysis. And I'll just read very briefly, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Quote, based upon my review of this is from town attorney Lito to Mr. Schultz concerning this request for confirmation. Quote, based upon my review of the foregoing, it is my opinion that the land use approvals and related permits for the subdivision, to wit, the special exception permit, the subdivision approval, and the inland wetlands permit expire on October 21, 2022 in unison, end of quote. So again, we're just here this evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission, seeking confirmation, very similar to when we've appeared before you in the past, asking for the various statutory extensions of time, as provided by the state statutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, if I can just add, insofar as this area of town has resulted in concerns by the residents in that neighborhood, I have emailed to property owners, the developer's phone number. After tonight, we're also going to have a staff meeting to discuss this subdivision because it entails the construction of a new road. This town hasn't seen a new road since Trailside, and you just approved the release of the maintenance bond. So this is new to a lot of people in the community. The neighbors in that particular area are concerned about impact to their wells, the noise, the type of homes being built, which we really don't control. Will lots be available, or is the developer going to do all that? All these issues will be addressed by the property owner, but staff is now going to have a staff meeting with all the departments to refamiliarize themselves with this development, because this development, the dates go back a lot of years.
My question is there any more, because there's no way they're building 14. I mean, I shouldn't say no way, but I have a feeling it's going to be difficult to build 14 houses by October 20th.
Extensions will be requested.
Can we allow that?
Okay,
Well,
can I finish?
Mr. Chairman? Oh, sorry.
Are there extensions available?
Hey, Chris, can you address that?
Yeah,
What
no.
you,
I was just raising my hand. I wasn't sure if you could see me. Mike, Mr. Chairman, as you're probably aware, and members of the commission, that the improvements, the road and the infrastructure has to be completed within the statutory time period. It's not the houses on the lot.
Right.
So my client is, especially with the current market for single family residences, and this is 14 lots on 129 acres. And about 69 acres will be deeded to the town as open space that abuts the Webb Mountain Park on the easterly side of the property. And my client intends and would like to commence with the improvements, which would be, again, the road improvements and infrastructure with sewer and whatnot, which they believe, and as you, the Steiners are, Chris Steiner's on the, has joined on behalf of the owner, and it's the Steiner family. They're very well versed with development, and they fully intend to complete the improvements within the statutory time periods of October 1, 2022, sir, and members of the commission.
And they believe they can do these improvements by October 21st, 2022?
That is correct. Chris Steiner, I don't know if you want to respond to that. And I know there will be a meeting with staff and working out the bonds required with the improvements in order for my client to commence that work. But yes, they believe they can meet that deadline.
Excellent. Any other?
that's the new subdivision in town, and I will be reporting on it as we progress.
Excelente. That's done. Any other discussion on that? Brian?
None.
Leon? Rob?
No.
Nicole?
No.
Excellent. Number 11, correspondence. I have none.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any correspondence? Next. Commissioners
Actually-
report. There we go.
Question?
Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, thank you very much. It's so small in the chambers, I just can't see the individual commissioners. I apologize.
No worries.
But I was just, so I understand that the commission agrees that that would be the timeline as represented in the town attorney's opinion letter to the commission?
Yes,
Okay, thank you very much, and have a nice
You're
evening and
welcome.
stay safe. Thank you.
you too. Thank you. Commissioners report.
Chairman's reports first.
Chairman, nothing. Mike will do it when he comes back. I have nothing to report. Anybody else? Any other commissioner? Any commissioner?
Did a good job today.
I did a good job today?
Yeah.
Not really.
You know.
I'll give myself a C
Oh,
in order to strive for better for next.
No crazy.
Mr. Schultz,
Okay, as we
raising your hand,
we
nice.
have our POCD next Wednesday, 28th, 7 PM.
And that's here.
Francisco will be joining us remotely.
Go Lindor.
that's here
Yes.
on Wednesday?
POCD, Wednesday.
We intend on opening the hearing,
Yeah, we
7 PM,
2 months ago.
taking comments from the public, closing the hearing, and I have prepared a draft resolution on the adoption, because we need to get the adoption to send it back to
28th,
28th, 7 PM, to the Office of Policy and Management. So they can put a check for the town of Monroe that it has fulfilled its POCD update.
We'll have hard copies of that. We'll have hard copies of that on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm gonna have Georgia make copies. We'll have that distributed tomorrow.
Was it only 3 pages like I requested, or?
Yeah,
300.
it's 80 pages.
Oh, that's it?
Smaller than the last one.
A whole lot less more. Good job.
That's a good read.
That concludes my report.
You're done?
Yes.
Are you serious? Good job. With all that being said, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting. I need a second.
Second from Ambrose.
Second, meeting is adjourned.